My sheep hear my voice, and the stranger they will not follow, but will flee from him, for they know not the voice of strangers.
I love ya, it's a brand new day. I trust ya, let your will be done today. Please hear me when I pray. I love ya, I will choose you first. I trust ya, I know you will quench my thirst. Through scripture, song, and verse, you have my heart today.
Hi boys and girls, I have a story for you that you may not have heard of before. Have you heard this song before? That's right, that's the Sons of Lions. What Bible story comes to mind? In this Bible story, it fits into the story of Daniel and the lion's den. The story has a great lesson and also explains why people wanted to kill Daniel. Okay, let's see what happened. When King Astyages was buried with his father, Cyrus the Persian became the king. Daniel spent a lot of time with the king and was the most honored out of all of his friends. Now the Babylonians had an idol god called Bel, and every day they provided a lot of bread, 40 sheep, and a lot of wine. The king went to worship Bel every day, but Daniel worshipped only the chief shepherd. So the king said to Daniel,
"Why do you not worship Bel?"
Daniel answered,
"Because I do not worship idols made with hands, but worship the living chief shepherd, who created heaven and earth and has control over all living creatures."
The king said to him,
"Do you not think that Bel is a living god? Do you not see how much he eats and drinks every day?"
And Daniel laughed and said,
"Do not be deceived, O king, for this thing is only clay inside and bronze outside, and it never ate nor drank anything."
Then the king was angry and called the priests of Bel and said to them,
"If you do not tell me who is eating this food, you shall die. But if you prove that Bel is eating the food, Daniel shall die, because Daniel has spoken bad things against Bel."
Daniel said to the king,
"Let it be done as you have said."
Now there were 70 priests of Bel, besides their wives and children. So the king went with Daniel to the temple of Bel. The priest of Bel said,
"See, we are now going outside. You yourself, O king, set out the food and prepared the wine, and shut the door, and seal it with your signet. When you return in the morning, if you do not find that Bel has eaten it all, we will die. Otherwise Daniel will. Who is telling lies about us?"
They were unconcerned, for beneath the table they had made a hidden entrance. Through it they used to go in and regularly eat the food. Look at the floor in this temple. After they had gone out, the king set out food for Bel. Then Daniel ordered his servants to bring ashes, so they scattered them throughout the whole temple in the presence of the king alone. Look at the ashes on the temple floor. Then they went out, shut the door, and sealed it with the king's signet. Then they left. This means the king took a piece of clay and stuck it to the door and pressed the ring with the clay. If someone opens the door, then the clay would be broken, so the king would know that someone came in. During the night, the priests came as usual, with their wives and children, and they ate and drank everything. Early the next day the king rose and came, Daniel with him. The king said,
Are the seals unbroken, Daniel?
He answered,
They are unbroken, King.
As soon as the doors were opened, the king looked at the table and shouted with a loud voice,
You are great, O Bel. You did not trick us.
But Daniel laughed and stopped the king from going in. The king said,
I see the footprints of men and women and children.
Then the king was angry, and he arrested the priests and their wives and children. They showed King Cyrus the secret doors through which they used to enter and eat what was on the table. Therefore the king put them all to death. So Daniel destroyed it and its temple. Now in that same place there was a great dragon, which the Babylonians worshipped. The king said to Daniel,
You cannot deny that this is a living God, so worship him.
Daniel said,
Look at the floor and notice whose footprints these are. I worship the chief shepherd, for he is the living chief shepherd. But give me permission, O king, and I will kill the dragon without sword nor club.
The king said,
I give you permission.
Then Daniel took pitch, fat, and hair and boiled them together and made cakes, which they fed to the dragon. The dragon ate them and burst open. Then Daniel said, See what you have been worshipping? When the Babylonians heard about it, they were very angry with the king, saying,
The king has become an Israelite. He has destroyed Bel, killed the dragon, and slaughtered the priests.
Going to the king, they said,
Hand Daniel over to us, or else we will kill you and your household.
The king saw that they were angry and serious, and under pressure he handed Daniel over to them. They threw Daniel into the lion's den, and he was there for 6 days. There were 7 lions in the den, and every day they had been given 2 human bodies and 2 sheep, but now they were given nothing, so that they would eat Daniel. Now the prophet Habakkuk was in Judea. He had made a stew and had broken bread into a bowl. He was going into the field to take it to the reaper. But the angel of the chief shepherd said to Habakkuk,
Take the food that you have to Babylon, to Daniel in the lion's den.
Habakkuk said,
Sir, I have never seen Babylon, and I know nothing about the den.
Then the angel of the chief shepherd took him by the crown of his head and carried him by his hair. With the speed of the wind he set him down in Babylon, right over the den. Then Habakkuk shouted,
Daniel! Daniel! Take the food that the chief shepherd has sent you.
Daniel said,
You have remembered me, chief shepherd, and have not forsaken those who love you.
So Daniel got up and ate. And the angel of the chief shepherd immediately returned to Habakkuk and to his own place. On the 7th day the king came to mourn for Daniel. When he came into the den, he looked in, and there sat Daniel. The king shouted with a loud voice,
You are great, Yah, the chief shepherd of Daniel, and there is no other besides you.
Then he pulled Daniel out and threw the bad people in, and they were instantly eaten before his eyes. We see in this story that Daniel did not serve Bel and he did not serve the dragon. Even though it almost cost him his life, Daniel only served the chief shepherd. We learned a lesson here that no matter who tells us to bow down and worship another god other than our chief shepherd, we should never give in to that. The chief shepherd rescued Daniel, and he will also rescue us. I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I hope to see you next time. Remember to obey your parents. Bye!